You were booed. What does that show you about rust and disaffection?
Look, we've got, we meet with everybody. We represent the entire country. We were cheered as well as the other.
And that, of course, was your Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who's been let off the hook now twice. But we're not going to get into that too much. We'll be talking about a lot of things today. And can't wait to get into that. So we'll be back shortly. And this is Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden, and we're broadcasting live from Ottawa.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yes, we're doing it live, as we always do. Thanks so much for watching today. And we've got lots to talk about. I think we'll lead off with, I want to make this very clear because I've said this on X. We put out a video this morning, but I want to make this very clear, is that the charges were not dropped against Katie and her mother. In fact, right now, they're on their way to court. They were fingerprinted yesterday. That's what the charges are. They don't know. The RCMP has a full year to come up with some charges. Now, this is absolutely insane. It sounds like the Soviet Union. You give me the people, we'll find the crime. And that's what this is all about. It's embarrassing. It's what makes Canada an anarcho tyranny. And what does this remind you of? How the governments, the authorities, the establishment went after the Freedom Convoy organizers, principally Tamara Leach and Chris Barber. So do you think they might find reason to charge Katie and her mom with mischief? Well, they have a full year to find something. This is outrageous garbage, nonsense. But I wanted to make that clear from the onset. And we'll have a video to show you. This is Katie returning from the fingerprint.
Whole time he fingerprinted us, we made him understand.
Did he take all your tattoo pictures?
He sure did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but he gave up after a while. There's a few that he didn't take pictures of. He gave up. But we stood there and we told him, do you know what you're really fingerprinting us for? Yeah. Feeding our animals. My mom said, if your wife has a stillborn child because of vaccinations and we could have helped your wife.
And I said they suppressed us.
They suppressed us of our science.
That we could have helped you in natural science.
In natural science.
Wouldn't have hurt
Do you hear her
anybody.
go? You go, Mom. You do it.
I did.
We did. That poor gentleman never got off, that's for sure. He stood in there and had to fingerprint us and do all of our palms and had to listen to our... He learned a lot. But did he learn enough? I think that's what we asked. Did they ever learn enough? No, they didn't. And this is not Canada. And that is why we're rising up. And that is what we're using our voices for. And that's why we came today, is to show you that we're doing everything right. Is it going to be enough, Canada? Is that going to be enough? Is doing everything right going to be enough? For the Canadian Food Inspection Agency that investigates themselves, they are their own authority. Is this going to be enough? We got a message from a sergeant that said that our animal cruelty case has been closed. Our animal cruelty case has been closed due to the whole time he fingerprinted us, we made him understand.
Did he take all your tattoo pictures?
He sure did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but he gave up after a while. There's a few that he didn't take pictures of. He gave up. But we stood there and we told him, do you know what you're really fingerprinting us for? Yeah. Feeding our animals. My mom said, if your wife has a stillborn child because of vaccinations, and we could have helped your wife.
And I said they suppressed us.
They suppressed us of our science.
That we could have helped you in natural science.
In natural
That
science.
wouldn't have hurt
Do you hear her
anybody.
go? You go, Mom. You do it.
I did.
We did. That poor gentleman never got off, that's for sure. He stood in there and had to fingerprint us and do all of our palms and had to listen to our...
A lot.
He learned a lot. But did he learn enough? I think that's what we asked. Did they ever learn enough? No, they didn't. And this is not Canada. And that is why we're rising up. And that is what we're using our voices for. And that's why we came today, is to show you that we're doing everything right. Is it going to be enough, Canada? Is that going to be enough? Is doing everything right going to be enough? For the Canadian Food Inspection Agency that investigates themselves, they are their own authority. Is this going to be enough? We got a message from a sergeant that said that our animal cruelty case has been closed. Our animal cruelty case has been closed due to, this is a message, okay, but that there's doxing. So they closed our animal cruelty case and will not speak to us. There has been no doxing from my mom or Ann. I want to make that very clear. If the truth and people who've been on our property that hold badge numbers, that have been reprimanded in appropriate ways for their actions, if that is doxing, that is so wrong. But we've done everything with peace, love, unity, and a direct message of calm, no violence, no harassment, and no threats. So that message is rang out clear for 11 months of what we stand for. We stand for to be the voice for all of you farmers. If you have had your voice silenced and you live in fear, I promise you this is your time. This is your time to stand up and use your voice. This is the time to stand up and go and attend a peaceful gathering on the November 22nd to show in unity by numbers what we can do. Go and rise up, protect your family, protect your legacy, protect your genetics, and protect your biodiversity on your farm, of the lineage of your animals that was probably handed down to you from your grandfather and your father. Go and protect that. That legacy is what is Canada. That is what is Canada proud. It is about our farmers and how strong we are, and dedicated generational farmers to dedicating their life to making sure that we have nutritional food on our plates, and innovative science and accountability to agencies that are supposed to protect us. You go rise up and you go attend somewhere in our country, in your city or town. You go and stand up and do a peaceful, beautiful, united demonstration of unity for farmers. Unity for farmers, unity for immunity, but unity for farmers. And that is our messaging, and it's been that since day one. Love, peace, and that together with our voices, we can create change. So, anyway, while we got fingerprinted, we taught the young man quite a bit. And my mama taught me well. So, God bless every one of you. United we stand stronger. We are stronger together, and God is good. If anybody should have lost faith through this, it is our family. But I promise you that our faith is stronger than ever, that God wrote the story, God wrote the ending, and now we all just have to believe that those beacons of hope are going to change the world. Okay? Thank you. We love you. Bye.
And that was Katie's message from yesterday. Got a little more to show you here. I have to get in here to find it. And my apologies for.
Breaking news is what you just said. So I'm curious. I want to hear them. What are the breaking news coming from the BC farm?
Well, it's really incredible, because yesterday I broke the news that Katie and her mom had their charges dropped. Mm-hmm. And it was incredible. I was the first one out with the story. I called Katie in the morning and she said, "Guess what, David? The charges have been dropped." I said, "Oh, thank God." that's wonderful news. And of course, went on air about that. And a couple of other people reported it later in the day. Then I called Katie this morning because we're working on a couple of things. And she says, you wouldn't believe this. She says, I'll have to put this gently. That information was relayed to us incorrectly. When we read it ourselves, it was clear the charges weren't dropped. The charges had yet to be assessed. And I said, what? They don't know what they're going to charge you with? And she says, not only that, they have a full year to find out what we're charged with. So they can go through all of our social media. They can go through everything that was said during the occupation of their farm and say, oh, looks like we got you for mischief here. Looks like you talked that RCMP officer out of hand. Looks like you might have impeded the activity of the CFIA inspector. All of this crap. And of course, they did absolutely nothing of the sort. But you watch them accuse them of it. You just watch that happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Obviously, I'm not suggesting this is something that's inevitable. But the way things have gone for this poor family at this farm, they have had their farm steamrolled, and it looks like the only thing I can describe it as, have you ever seen the leftovers from a Roman, how can I put this? Actually, the best thing I could say is that in the aftermath of the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich in 1942 in Czechoslovakia, the Nazis decimated a town that they accused of harboring the alleged assassins. And they mowed the whole town over and they salted it in the same way that the Romans used to salt the fields of a conquered enemy. And this is exactly like what you can see at Edgewood today. There's just bales of hay strewn everywhere. There's hay all over the place. They have just literally knocked everything over and left everything in a huge pile. And no, they haven't salted the fields, but they might as well have, because of course there's debris everywhere. And this, of course, was supposed to be a biohazard cleanup. And this is what just kills me in this whole operation. It was done with such incredible gross incompetence. And I had a veterinarian on the show last week to talk about this. And he said, I can't get over how grossly incompetent this exercise was. Everything about it. They didn't know what they were doing. They made a mess of things. People were working with bare hands, no protective gear on. They just literally threw the bodies of these ostriches into bins. They overloaded the trucks. The contractor that brought the ostrich bodies to God knows where, we think half of them at least are still in Surrey, BC, at a super save location. They weren't even authorized to carry this kind of waste. Every conceivable law was broken, regulations, rules, neglected, ignored in this whole procedure. And yet who's getting charged, or who might be charged in the next 12 months? The owners of this farm, who have been left with literally nothing except hay in their backyard. That's the only thing the CFI left them, was a pile of hay and bales of hay that, of course, they can't give to anybody because they're contaminated. Nobody wants this hay. So what are they going to do with it? A landfill won't even accept it. And it is so outrageous what's happened here. And once again, this was an exercise in government punishment of a farm that just didn't want to knuckle under. And clearly, as Katie said to me today, this has always been about getting the research we did on these ostriches, stealing the research, and ensuring nobody could verify that these birds had developed herd immunity, because that would not work out for the big pharma program of the Carney government. That would not play into their narrative. So there's a twofold scheme going on here, Nico, and it's still going on in the cover-up that they're trying to work out right now. This is a subservience to big pharma and their vaccinations, and it's the research this farm did with the ostriches, with the antibodies, with the herd immunity. CFIA wants to steal that. I believe that very, very much. I think that's what this has all been about. But God knows somebody should be charged, fined, and somebody should be going to jail in this whole process, and it should not be Katie and her mom. They should not be charged for a damn thing. It should be the CFIA that disregarded every basic law that they possibly could, from violating these animals with cruelty, with neglect, with near starvation levels of food, not giving them water, attacking them, assaulting them, lassoing them, and then finally shooting and massacring them with over 1,000 rounds of ammunition. This was a heartless, inhumane, inhuman exercise, and the aftermath has been appalling. And when Katie told me today they have a year to find a charge, we both said the same thing. God damn, it's Tamara Leach and Chris Barber all over again. What do you bet? What do you bet they find some incidents of mischief? And
of course they will.
Means in Canada now, well, the Crown can call for 8 years for that. So. Incredible. And the debacle continues. And we've got some more to show you here. And these, of course, are we have been offering these stickers, and they have been phenomenal. We hope that the firm that produces these has enough red ink, because we're getting, literally, people are buying these 5, 6 at a time, 5, 6 sheets at a time. And now, of course, we have these. We have this logo here on the hoodie. Now, initially, I wanted to hand the hoodie over to Katie and her mom so they could deal directly with it. Obviously, with the change in plans of the going to court today and everything else, I've decided, and we decided yesterday, that I would handle it in the meantime, and we'll give it to them as soon as they're ready to take it. But all orders on these products proceeds will be going to Universal Ostrich Farms, to Katie and her mom and Dave Belinsky. We're quite proud of these hoodies, and I know all of you will be as well. And here's some of the other stickers, close-up of this. You know, this isn't going away, folks. This is not going away. This was a tragedy. This was a massacre, but Katie is trying to turn it into a victory for farmers everywhere with the group that she's working on right now. And when that is up and running, we'll be talking more about it, but it's a voice for farmers. That's what she's working on. And as soon as that's up and running, we'll be talking about exactly what it plans to do. Besides coming to the aid of farmers. And in that little spot she did there on her Facebook, she talked about protests that are happening across the country. Now, there's protests in BC. They were very well organized, and we're going to be talking a bit more about that. We'll be reminding you at the end of the show about that. But this is your chance to come out and let the government know. And there will be a protest in Ottawa. I will be there. I'm trying to find out exactly where it begins, because I don't think they're going to be allowed to go right in front of Parliament Hill on Wellington Street, and what time things begin. This is all extremely necessary to find out, and we'll be doing that. And as soon as I know, I will let you know on X, and every available device we have, and we'll be talking about it on tomorrow's show, of course. So I think this is extremely necessary. I want to show you this video here of Pete Hextra, the U.S. ambassador to Canada. He's been talking about the F-35 acquisition.
I go around the country and people will say, Pete, you just don't understand why we're so mad about the 51st state. It's kind of like, yeah, you're right, I don't. Okay? Well, and then I read, all I can say is to my Canadian friends is, you don't understand, because I read the media and I listen to other discussions, the president got mad about an ad. Well, I've been in this business for a while, and I know people who've been in it longer than I have. And I asked them, okay, the ad that was run by the government of Canada. Oh, that's not the government of Canada, it's Ontario. It's kind of like, I'm sorry, we don't go through that, slicing and dicing. And, it's kind of like, no one can ever remember a like circumstance where a foreign government came into the United States and, they were talking about $54 million of ads, American dollars, so real money. Just a joke,
okay.
just a joke. Okay, lighten up.
That's the quote they're going to remember.
Yeah, that's going to get me into trouble. But targeting the President of the United States and his policies 10 days before an election and a couple of weeks before a Supreme Court case would be heard in front of the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, that does not happen in the United States of America. You do not come into America and start running political ads, government-funded political ads, and expect that there will be no consequences. It's the government coming in again and control. And expect that there will be no consequences or reaction from the United States of America and the Trump administration. It has, as far as we can tell, it has never happened in America before. And if Canada wants to insert itself and create a new precedent that you're going to participate in our electoral politics through advertising targeting the President of the United States and his policies, I would suggest that you seriously consider whether that is the best way to try to achieve your objectives in the United States of America.
Okay, I've got to say this. The ambassador is correct about the F-35. And he might even be correct about the inadvisability of Doug Ford putting out this ad with Ronald Reagan and free trade. But in terms of political interference, I think he's missing something very significant. And we'll just show you this first here. Future of trade talks depend on Canada's purchase of American fighter jets, U.S. ambassador says. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute because he's right there. But political interference. He's saying that Doug Ford and Mark Carney were waging political interference just before an election. Of course, this was not the big midterm elections that we know about that occur 2 years after the presidential. This is minor stuff. It's a couple of governorships, dog catchers, and nobody really notices very much. Republicans did very badly in those elections. But of course, he's suggesting, Mr. Hexter suggesting that was political interference. Well, what about Donald Trump endorsing Mark Carney on 3 occasions, including on the day before our federal election on April 28th? Now, I've always said that was completely inappropriate, completely unnecessary, and actually pretty stupid. Sometimes, yes, even the great Donald Trump, who I support wholeheartedly most of the time, even the great Donald Trump does some stupid things sometimes, and endorsing Mark Carney was bad, I think, for the U.S., because I think Donald Trump underestimated how dangerous Mark Carney is for the United States and his intention to replace the U.S. dollar as the world global currency with the Chinese yuan, their currency, with his intention of replacing the United States as the economic engine of the world with China. I think Donald Trump underestimated and said, he's a lightweight. Oh, no, he's not. He might really not have the best interest of Canada in his mind, but he is intellectually superior in every way to Justin Trudeau. And he has nothing but, I predict, bad news for Canada. But Donald Trump should not have endorsed Mark Carney, not just because it was bad for the United States. It was bad for Canada. A conservative victory would have done much better. Even if I don't think Pierre Poilievre had any intention of introducing 4 censorship and surveillance bills, the way Mark Carney has done. And it's a tragedy that this government was not brought down in the last 2 weeks, because those are poisonous, toxic bills. Let's talk about this for a minute, though. He's right. Pete, you're right about the F-35. How many years has Canada been talking about finally replacing the aging CF-18s. Well, you have to go back to Jean Chrétien being elected as the Prime Minister of Canada. And that's 1993. 1993, when Jean Chrétien wins the federal election. There's already talk about the United States repurposing its aviation resources into one major project. There's already talk about the replacement for the CF-18. In the United States, they were already on Model 2 or 3, the Super Hornet. And the F-35 was the jet that was going to replace it. And it was going to be the single replacement for all of the jets the U.S. Navy, Air Force, and Marines were flying. That was the plan. And Jean Chrétien signed on to that plan. But no money exchanged hands, and it was just a slow process. And it went on and on and on. 9 years of Stephen Harper, he did not buy the jet. He procrastinated, put it off, kicked the can down the road, and did nothing about it. Finally, Justin Trudeau, a couple years back, decides we got to do something because we can't keep flying the CF-18. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Just like his father before him said, we can't keep flying the CF-101 Voodoo because it's dangerous. It's being held together literally by gun tape. So what happened? Well, Pierre Trudeau decides to buy the CF-18, and it's finally delivered in 1982. And Justin Trudeau says, we've got to replace that CF-18. How many years is that now? Over 40 years later, we have to replace. And finally, we're going to go with the F-35. What does Mark Carney do upon becoming prime minister? We're going to we're going to buy the ones we promised to buy, but we're not going to buy all of them. Now they're talking about buying the Swedish-made Saab Gripen, which is not interoperable with our primary allies, and those being the United States, Great Britain, and Australia. And we could be risking our position in NORAD over this. People forget this. NORAD is a great organization. Canada is the number 2 member of that organization, and we have a joint command in Colorado Springs with a U.S. general and a Canadian lieutenant general making the decisions. We could be losing all of that if we decide to go against the decision to buy the F-35. Now, let's hear some more from Pete Hegstra here.
I'll just get myself in trouble.
No, okay,
go ahead.
Known for speaking his mind, U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra lamented missing out on a Canada-U.S. free trade deal that he says was supposed to be announced this week.
The strategy was to put wins on the board. That was the strategy that the president and the prime minister agreed to.
You talked about strategies to getting talks restarted.
Hoekstra told Global News that approach nearly paid off, but unlike his boss,
hurt every American worker.
He was originally reluctant to blame the Ontario government anti-tariff ads.
And you agree with that we were really, really close?
I think we were very close, yeah.
And it was all Doug Ford, the Doug Ford ad ruined it?
I just, I'm not going to get into ascribing blame. Different people will do their own analysis.
But in the end, Hoekstra did give his own assessment, saying the ads attempted to interfere in U.S. politics and try and influence the Supreme Court case on tariffs and American midterm elections.
You do not come into America and start running political ads, government-funded political ads, and expect no consequences or reaction from the United States of America.
That characterization in trade talks aligned with Mark Carney's view.
There were a series of very detailed, very specific, very comprehensive discussions, negotiations up until the point of those ads running.
While Hoekstra was mad about the ads, he also brought up the Trump insult that has infuriated Canadians, unprompted.
I go around the country and people will say, Pete, you just don't understand why we're so mad about the 51st state. It's kind of like, yeah, you're right, I don't. Okay?
Hoekstra also told Global News he believes that talks will resume at some point with a potential reduction on metals tariffs down to 25%, but don't expect things to go much lower. with the ambassador saying the best Canada can hope for is to match the UK's 10% tariff rate. Mackenzie Gray, Global News, Ottawa.
And we've got one more clip to show you from this, and incredible stuff going on here.
All right, and where's my tech buddies? I'll give you mine if you want. Folks, should it be working? Oh, I hear you.
Yes, there we go. I just wanted to say thank you for the warm welcome. I mean, this Canadian government, it is so nice of them to put out a national emergency that the U.S. ambassador...
Way to go.
The U.S. ambassador is again speaking. Watch out. So...
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible in terms of how people are reacting to this. And I see a lot of people on X saying, "Oh, we're going to buy the Gripen to get back at Donald Trump." Well, I had Colonel Douglas McGregor on my show recently. He's one of the finest defense analysts available, and he said, "Don't do this to Donald Trump. If you really think he got mad about at that time the ad hadn't been out, but." He said one of the things the United States still sells to the world are armaments, food and armaments. Not a lot of other manufactured goods right now. Donald Trump's trying to bring it all back to the United States, but that hasn't happened yet. So right now, if you stop buying the F-35, and if you think Donald Trump was mad about the Reagan ad, he's going to go ballistic over this. Now, he hasn't talked to Mark Carney in a long time. He might never talk to Mark Carney again if this F-35 deal is cut short. And that's exactly what he's talking about doing. So highly, highly problematic. And by the way, I just got a message from Katie. She's on the way to the court to ensure that they haven't pulled a fast one on her and put her on the docket today, because that could be exactly what they're up to. And it's incredible how this system works, and it doesn't work in your favor at all. And I think anyway. We've got a couple of other things I wanted to show you here.
That Saab is offering 10,000 jobs if you go with the Gripen, but at the same time, Lockheed Martin says thousands of jobs could be lost if we don't go with the F-35. How are you balancing that?
Well, what I've said is I don't believe that we've had enough jobs created and industrial benefits done out of the F-35 contract. I think it's not enough. I think Canadians expect more, and we should get more. So that's my first point. And second, when it comes to the Gripen, of course, we're interested in seeing what can be done. There was solicited that came up. 10,000 jobs is indeed a very interesting offer. So we look at what our military committees needs, and at the same time, what are the number of jobs created across the country. I know that Canadians want us to build more in Canada, build with Canadian jobs, and that's what I'm pushing.
Good evening. One of the largest defense contractors in Europe is making a play for a piece of this country's military market.
10,000 research and manufacturing jobs could land in Canada if Ottawa adds the Swedish fighter jet to its military fleet.
We, as Saab, we are prepared to do that technology and support build.
Canada faces a critical decision in its defense strategy, and the implications are being watched closely across the globe. Analysts in Washington, Ottawa, and Stockholm recognize that the next steps could reshape military planning, industrial production, and international partnerships for decades. Canada's fighter jet program has long been a central element of its defense planning, and the choices it makes now carry consequences far beyond national borders. Reports indicate that new developments from Sweden have introduced an unexpected factor into these discussions, one that could influence not only Canada's military capabilities, but also its industrial landscape, technology transfer, and economic future. Saab, the Swedish manufacturer of the Gripen fighter jet, has confirmed ongoing discussions with Ottawa regarding the potential production of these aircraft in Canada. Saab President and CEO Mikael Johansson explained in a recent interview that the company is prepared to provide technology transfer, support upgrades, and collaborate directly with major Canadian firms. These companies include Bombardier and CAE, both headquartered in Montreal, as well as Nova Scotia-based IMP Aerospace and Defense. Johansson indicated that production could take place either in a newly built facility or within a converted existing plant, with the first Canadian-made Gripen potentially ready within 3 to 5 years. The scale of this proposal is significant. Johansson confirmed that if Canada moves forward with this plan, it could create approximately 10,000 manufacturing and research jobs across the country. These positions would cover aerospace engineering, technology development, and high-level production roles connected directly to the Gripen program. This is not a minor adjustment. It represents a substantial industrial expansion that could influence Canada's domestic economy for decades.
All right, this is not a news piece. This is a promotional piece. Now, if anyone ever worked for a community newspaper, everybody's got to go out and write what they call advertorial. That means you're talking about some local business that usually advertises with your paper, and you're going to write a piece about how wonderful this company is, how vital they are to the local economy, and you're going to make it look like not advertising, but legitimate journalism. And that's what's precisely going on here. This is a Saab promotional piece, and it's utter rubbish. 10,000 jobs, in Canada. How many people are Saab going to bring over from Sweden? And do you really think it takes 10,000 new workers to build fighter jets? No. Anybody remotely associated with the armaments industry can tell you that. And even I can tell you that. And believe me, I'm not that associated with the armaments industry, but I used to be at one point. And I used to know exactly who the movers and shakers were in Canada. And 10,000 workers, this is a liberal promotional piece on behalf of Saab in Sweden. And, here's Melanie Joly going on about, we want the industrial regional benefits, the IRBs. That should not be the deciding factor in a defense procurement contract. It should be what aircraft is best for the military. What do they need what do they require to fulfill their operational needs? So let's have a look. Let's go to my X site here. There's some stuff up here I want to have a look at. Here we are. Sunset in Camden. Yes, and there's Katie, of course. That's doing quite well. I put that up because she put that up on Facebook, not on X, but now it is on X. And, we are fighting back. And I invite you all to watch the whole broadcast. I do this every Wednesday with Nico Lagan, and it's called the Conservative Corner. But we criticize conservatives, small C, large C, every C. And I invite you to watch the whole show, which is you can find on X, on Rumble, on YouTube, on Facebook. No, sorry. It's only on X and on YouTube. That's right. I can't share it to everybody. So incredible stuff going on, of course, with Jeffrey Epstein. And we want to end with that. This is the people fighting back. Representative Nancy Mace has now set to force a vote to censure Representative Corey Mills after a backroom deal was reportedly struck, shielding Mills of a censure in exchange for protecting Stacey Plack and her ties. This is why we're fighting this, okay? This is why we're fighting this.
Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie knew he had an uphill battle when he filed a discharge petition in September to force a vote on his bipartisan legislation requiring the Justice Department to release all its records on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The maneuver allows a lawmaker to bring a bill to the floor for consideration, without cooperation from the committee it's been referred to or party leaders. And according to the Congressional Research Service, it has rarely been used successfully.
It's a very hard thing to do. You have to get 218 signatures on the same document. Nobody gets to use an auto pen. You can't fax it in. You got to go to the floor of the House and sign it. And I succeeded in this to the consternation of the president, who had originally promised to do what this discharge petition does.
Massey achieved the magic number of signatures only after the swearing in of Arizona Democratic Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva, which House Speaker Mike Johnson had delayed for weeks. According to records from the clerk of the House, so far this year there have been 3 discharge petitions, including Massey's, that reached the required 218 signatures, and 2 last year. But before that, the last petition to reach 218 was in 2015, a full decade ago. Political analyst Casey Burgett says the petitions are typically seen as a shot across the bow to leadership.
It usually requires at least some members of the majority party to basically tell their own speaker, their own leader, hey, you're doing this wrong and we're going to join the other side and co-opt your powers to get to the floor.
In Massey's case, only 3 members of his own party, Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, and Nancy Mace of South Carolina, defied President Donald Trump in joining him and with Democrats to make it happen. Their success is seen as a testament to the popularity of the cause they championed, the release of the long-hidden documents about Epstein, a popularity that this time trumped political pressure. In Washington, Erin Kelly, Spectrum News.
All right, folks, we need the whole truth about the Epstein files here. We need the whole truth. And Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, has been a champion of truth in this whole thing. She said today's vote to finally force the release of the Epstein files is a major victory for the survivors who've waited decades for the truth. I stood with them this morning, the survivors who told the FBI told law enforcement, begged for help, and were ignored. This vote should have been easy. Instead, the original 4, Massey, Mace, Boebert, and myself, had to fight through months of intimidation just to get the discharge petition to 218 signatures. Americans are done being lied to. So are Canadians. These survivors deserve full transparency. Every document, every truth, every name. And if those names reach me, I will read them on the House floor. Let's listen to a bit of Marjorie.
I proudly rise today in a bipartisan effort to release the Epstein files finally, after 5 administrations have covered it up. Earlier today, I attended the press conference where the survivors, they're not victims, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse and sex trafficking told their stories. And they told stories about how it started back in 1991, 1996, and they continued on through the decades. And they told stories about how they told someone and tried to get help. They told the FBI and they weren't listened to. And they told law enforcement and no one did anything. And these women don't just number a few. These women number around 1,000 women. And they are victims of something that's unthinkable. And this should have never, ever happened. This was the biggest fight I think I've seen in Washington, D.C. This is my 5th year here. And this was a fight that we should have never had to wage. It should have been the easiest thing for every single member of Congress. It should have been the easiest thing for the Speaker of the House. It should have been the easiest thing for the President of the United States to release all the information, every single file, on behalf of these American women. These American women aren't rich, powerful elites. They do not have someone paying for their airline tickets or paying for their trips or paying for their expenses every time they try to do something to get this information out. These are your average Americans. And you want to know what the Epstein files represent? The cover-up represents to average Americans. It represents the failures of the federal government and Congress to the American people. And that is what people rose up about in 2024. They wanted and demanded transparency from their government. And for Americans finally to be put first. And today, with this vote, we are finally putting these victims and these survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and the cabal of rich, powerful elites that expands not just here in the United States of America, but to other countries as well. We're putting them last. And that is exactly what Americans want. You see, for far too long, Americans have been put last. And they're sick of it. They're sick and tired of it. And this is why they don't trust Congress. This is why they don't trust the government. And here's the problem. All of these women who have suffered in shame for years and years and years, women who were terrified, women who were intimidated, women who were threatened, just like Virginia Giuffre. And now she's dead. And these women should have never faced that, for this information to come out. And we, especially the 4 Republican members of the House of Representatives, we should have never faced intimidation and threats for us to get this vote to come to the floor. Never forget, there were 4: Thomas Massie, myself, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. We had to sign a discharge petition, and we had to fight through intimidation, and we had to endure it for months to push that discharge petition finally to 218 to get this vote to come out. This is what the American people are sick of, and rightfully so. Now, where does this go from here? The question will remain: will the Department of Justice release all the information? Will a judge in New York release the information? Will the CIA release the information? And will foreign governments release their information? Or will this continue after this vote today be a cover-up? A cover-up of the rich, powerful elites that bond together in sex and human trafficking abuse and all types of global business that enriches them but never serves Americans. The American people will know, and the victims, actually the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, will know, because they know the list of names. And I remain dedicated to my promise to read those names here on the House floor if those women ever find them in a place that it needs to be done. I yield back to.
Why is it we have so many courageous women right now who are fighting for you, fighting the good fight for you? In the United States, the Epstein files have become emblematic of the Uniparty and a government that does not want you to know anything, that wants to continue to cover up the corruption, the stench, the perversity, and just the horrific reality of what government breeds. In Canada, Katie Pastiney has been fighting back against government corruption. And look what happened to her. She got fingerprinted yesterday. And the RCMP have a year to come up with charges. She's fighting the corruption of the CFIA and the RCMP in this occupation and this so-called cleanup. Now, if she stops fighting, they'll do it again and again and again. And they'll keep adding to their corruption. If Marjorie Taylor Greene, that representative from Congress from the great state of Georgia, if she just knuckles under and says, oh my God, President Trump called me Marjorie Traitor Greene, Marjorie Wacko Greene, I better shut up. No, she's standing firm and she's demanding people listen to her because the Epstein files are extremely important. I haven't done a lot of material on the Epstein files on this show. I haven't done a lot of writing about it. I've been watching very carefully. I think there's a concurrence right now, a conflation between corruption in Canada and corruption in the United States. And we need brave women like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Katie Pastiney to fight back, to push back, and to demand justice. Not justice for the ostriches, but justice for people who are being abused, coerced, intimidated, assaulted by big government. In this country, it's the Mark Carney government, exhibited and demonstrated by the actions of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and a national police force that appears to be in his pocket. In the United States, it's the complete resistance by the Uniparty there to reveal the true facts about Jeffrey Epstein, even though the Republicans came in demanding that very thing happen. So that's what's at stake here. That's what's at stake. We're going to be dealing with this theme continuing in the next weeks, days and weeks, because it's about justice for the people. And you say, oh, what a cliche. It is. But it's a cliche that has no reality anymore for those of us in this country. I'll have, no farmers, no food. You can get that hoodie in our merchandise. I'm going to put that on for a sec, and I'll be right back. And I'll show you these again. I think this is extremely important. These are the stickers. And this is the new hoodie, just out yesterday. Get it in our merchandise store. Proceeds were going to Katie and the farm. These are the stickers. We're very proud of them. We're very happy with them. I encourage you to have a look at the store today. Now, Katie tried to call during the broadcast, and she's on her way to the courthouse, as I said, to find out whether or not they're on the docket, because she suspects they might have her there and not tell her. Do you think that could happen? Would they do that to her? You bet they would. So we might have a second show today, or we might have Katie on tomorrow to talk about this. And she's also she's working on the beginnings of a Voice for Farmers Association, which she's working on, and I'm doing whatever I can to make that happen as well, because I think this is something we need to do. We need to stop the assault on Canadian agriculture by the Carney government. They have endured enough. They've had enough. They're fighting back, and that's what these protests are all about on Saturday, November 22nd. I'll have more information on those tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching today. I will be back again tomorrow with more of the news you need to know. This has been David Krayden broadcasting to you live from your nation's capital in Ottawa. Thanks for watching. Thank you for sharing this station with your friends and family. Thank you for hitting that like button, because I tell you, we are fighting back in a way I've never had to before, because I'm going to keep this station on the air. I'm going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep fighting for justice and truth. And I am damn determined to resist this Carney government in any way possible as it encroaches upon our individual freedom. And it will continue to do that, mark my words. I'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place. 10 a.m. This has been David Krayden, broadcasting live from our nation's capital in Ottawa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.